Have you ever found yourself doing that extra work for a client? Quick favor, it was easy, and maybe things started to expand, and you didn't even realize that it was going under the radar. This is Warren Fogelman with Business Success Solution, and think about it. You get that client, there's a quick question about their financials, and that quick question turns into a 30-minute advisory meeting. Or maybe you start pulling additional reports because this client now has expanded, they've grown, and you're doing this now month in, month out, even though it's not part of the original agreement. I just want to say these little extras, which so many client-centered accounting firms tend to do, will go ahead and drain your profits every single day. In fact, there was a report by the American Institute of CPAs, the AICPA, and it found that 17% of accountants' time or your firm's time is spent on work that's not even compensated. And that means that scope creep can cost the typical accounting firm about $17,000 a year in annual revenue, if not even more. So think about how much free work are you giving away? If you're a small firm, it could be maybe about $17,000 a year. If you're a mid-sized, larger firm, it's going to be exponential. So I just want to say, yes, scope creep is the symptom, but the problem that causes this to happen is boundaries. Boundaries are the real cause of you continuing to do work in your firm without any compensation. So we want to look at why this extra work starts slipping in. And the thing to look at is that it's not your clients that they are trying to take advantage of you, because they probably don't even realize what's in their work agreement to begin with. It is that they're making these little requests because things come up as far as the needs go, and they don't realize what's included or if something is even outside of scope. So here's 3 things to consider as to why it starts to happen. First of all, your firm doesn't have a clear process of addressing that extra work when it comes in, those little extra requests. And as a result of that, you're just handling them as they come in. You're not even thinking anything about it. You love saying yes to your clients, and it is just easy. It doesn't realize that, it's 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and that all that is adding up. So there's no structure in place for you to start catching those little extra requests that start adding up. That's the very first thing. The second thing is that you might have work agreements with your clients, but they are not specific enough. They're kind of vague. So when maybe you're giving a work agreement to your client, it might have language in it that says, oh, advisory meetings are included, but it doesn't say maybe 2 advisory meetings per month. So you want to be as specific as possible in order to avoid any miscommunications or it being interpreted differently than what you intended. Because let's just admit, if it's ambiguous, then they're going to think that they can have an advisory meeting with you anytime they need it, as opposed to realizing that there needs to be some structure and limitations. And then the third thing is you lack of structured review process. So this is where a client's workload has gone ahead and expanded over time, but your fees remain the same because nobody is really assessing what is actually being done for that client and what is covered in the work agreement and for the original fees that they actually started paying you. So those are 3 reasons that the scope continues to expand for your firm. There's no clear process for dealing with the additional requests as they come in. Your service agreements aren't specific enough. And also, there's no review process in place. And that is exactly what was happening with Tom in his accounting and tax firm, is that he was overwhelmed. He was working very long hours, even when it wasn't tax season. And it wasn't sustainable for him. So when we started looking at his client relationships, we found that he was consistently doing additional work. And it was things that weren't included in the additional agreement, in the original agreement. So there was an example, one client that regularly texted him questions about his taxes, and that even though the original agreement only covered tax preparation, he was actually giving pretty much year-round advisory services. So it was because he's client-centered, he wants to be helpful, and he didn't have any processes in place to be able to deal with these extra requests as they came up. And one of the things that we started doing is putting boundaries in place to take back control of his firm so that he was getting compensated for work that he was actually delivering for his clients instead of doing really high value client services without any compensation. So by doing that, he was able to reduce his work week, get down to a normal work week, and also it gave him a boost to his profit margins. So let's talk about what you can start doing to get some similar results where you're taking back some of your time, and also it is going to lead to increased revenues for your firm, so you're getting compensated, not giving it all away for free. The very first thing is you want to define exactly what is included so that it's no longer vague, it's not open for misinterpretation, and now there's a miscommunication happening. So you want to be specific. Instead of saying, we're going to handle your financials and your bookkeeping every month, you want to be very, very clear about what that means. That you're going to be closing them out at the month end, and that might be done by the 15th of the following month. This includes 2 bank accounts, 1 credit card, and that you will get these 2 reports, your P&Ls and your balance sheets every month. So that is how specific you want to be in your work agreements. So that's the very first thing. The second thing is that you want to have some process in place for dealing with reviewing and adjusting your services as necessary. So this is where you want to have some structured reviews in place, because as you know, scope creep happens very, very gradually. You do a little bit here, a client asks for a special favor there, things start to grow as far as how many transactions, or maybe they all of a sudden now have a line of credit that they didn't have before. So as a result of that, things start to expand and it just kind of goes under the radar. What you want to look at is having a review process. Maybe it's every quarter you're reviewing your client accounts to make sure that things are still in alignment with the work agreement. And that when you realize that you are doing extra deliverables, you have a discussion about what you're doing for them and whether there needs to be an adjustment to the fee agreement or not. And by doing that, it lets you start to contain things instead of going for months, sometimes years, without any adjustment to the work agreement, and that the fees are still at what they originally engaged your services at. So we want to have something maybe that's a very simple script. Where you say, I noticed over the past few months, we've been providing some additional services for you. You've been asking for some insights into some specific metrics. So we've been doing KPI tracking for you. And that shows me that your business needs have evolved. Let's go ahead and sit down and look at what we're doing, what you need, what it is that is going to help you continue to grow steadily. And then we're going to go ahead and update our service agreement so that we're properly supporting your growth. You want to have a simple script like that. And then the third thing is your team. It's not just you as a firm owner that sometimes is doing additional work. It might be that your team is very, very client-centered. They love helping out your clients, and they don't know how to put these boundaries in place because it's actually not their place to do that unless you specifically have a process, have a clear communication about what that means, and you're training them on what to do. And then you're having oversight to make sure that they're following through with that. So you want to make sure that your team members are on the same page as you are, because stuff sneaks in and they just want to be helpful. They don't want to say no to a potential client either, or to a current client. So you want to show them how to be able to have boundaries and maintain good client relationships. So give them a framework for handling some extra requests as they come in. maybe if it's going to take less than 5 minutes, they go ahead and just do that. And if it's something that maybe takes between 5 and 30 minutes, maybe there's a way to document it and flag it for review. And then if this is an ongoing request that takes more than 30 minutes, then they need to have a response. And it's something like that's definitely something that we want to help with because it's outside of our current agreement of what we're doing for you. I'll have the firm owner reach out to you to discuss what it is that you need so we can best accommodate you and then possibly update the agreement. And that is what you want to do because you don't want your team to be making those judgment calls because everybody has a different way of assessing things and judging things. You want to have systems in place, including for these additional requests, because then it's going to be continuous along the board, no matter who it is that is working with a particular client. And once again, create that process. So these are 3 things to start to manage scope creep, is that you want to define exactly what's included in the work agreement. You want to have a process in place for reviewing and adjusting the process and the additional services, as well as what to say. And then you want to do this for your team also, so that they know when something needs to be flagged or looked at and have the right words to do that. And as a result of putting some firm boundaries in place, you're going to go ahead and see your revenues increase. You're going to be reducing stress for your team as well as for yourself. You're going to start to engage clients who respect your time as well as your expertise and the work that your firm is doing for your clients. And also it's going to be sustainable and profitable. Because I want to just say, it was difficult for Tom also, but we went through the process one step at a time. And by doing that, he increased his revenues. He was actually able to reduce his workload, and he had his clients respecting him more. They weren't pushing back. So that's what you want to do because you want your clients to see you as a consultant and delivering a valuable service as opposed to a technician where they don't really respect what you're doing and they see you as an extension of their employees and that you do anything for them without any pushback. So this is what I want you to do for you as your first step. Set aside 30 minutes to start to look at your current client agreements and look at, are they specific and clear enough? And is it possible that you're also delivering some extras without even realizing? You'll be amazed at what you find out. Then I want you to look at all the things you're delivering without any compensation and tally it up. How many additional hours is it? If you were to charge for those things, how much additional revenue would that bring into your firm? And calculate that because so many firms, they are losing a lot of money and it adds up over the time. So once again, for firm owners that I take through this exercise, they find that they are actually leaving maybe between $3,000 to $8,000 a month on the table. They're doing the work, they're not getting compensated. So we need to go ahead and take care of that. And we want to then put some boundaries in place so that this is maintained over time, whether it's you or your team that's dealing with these extra requests. So if you want to start putting these boundaries in place, protecting your time, being able to make sure that you're getting paid for the work that you're doing, then let's go ahead and have a conversation. Reach out to me. Let me know that you want to take care of this now. You're tired of leaving money on the table. And you can go to businesssuccesssolution.com/let's talk to get it set up. I want to hear from you as what you took away from this, what resonated with you, where you need more information in order to make sure that you're getting compensated for all the work that you're doing, that it makes things easier, not harder, while still being client-centered. Look forward to hearing what's coming up for you. Lauren Fogelman with Business Success Solution, showing accounting firm owners how to double their income, working half the time.